Welcome to Traveler's Tales. I am your host, Greg Alonzo. Today I will be your guide through history as we take a look at Beyond the Myths of Avalon. Moving right along, mythology tells us one thing, while archaeology tells us another. Where was the fabled land of Avalon? Why is it important, and why has this mystical island continued to pique our interest? Today we will answer these questions as we take a look at the mythical land of enchantment. Avalon, the name translates from Cornish as the land of fruit trees. This mythical island is featured in the Arthurian legend. It first appeared in Geoffrey of Monmouth's influential 1136 Historia Regum Britanniae. Avalon was a place of magic where King Arthur's sword, Excalibur, was made. Later, after the Battle of Camlan, Arthur was taken there to recover from his grave wounds. Since then, the island has become a symbol of Arthurian mythology, similar to Arthur's castle at Camelot. Avalon was associated from an early date with mystical practices and magical figures such as King Arthur's sorceress sister, Morgan. Certain Briton traditions maintain that Arthur is an eternal king who had never truly died, but would return as the once and future king. The particular motif of his rest in Morgan's care in Avalon has become especially popular and can be found in various versions in many French and other medieval Arthurian tales. In fact, some link the Holy Grail to Avalon. Avalon has often been identified as the former island of Glastonbury Tor. The story first came to the eye of the public by the supposed discovery of King Arthur's remains. In accordance with medieval tradition, Arthur was gravely wounded at the Battle of Camlan and did not survive his fatal injuries. Besides a grand reburial at Glastonbury, several other alternative locations of Avalon have been claimed as the proposed site of Arthur's burial. Italian folklore even connects Arthur to the phenomenon of Fata Morgana on Mount Etna. Geoffrey dealt with the subject in more detail in Vita Merlini, in which he describes for the first time in Arthurian legend the fairy tale enchantress Morgan as the chief of 9 sisters who rule Avalon. These sisters are Moroniae, Mazarae, Gliton, Tyronia, and Thetan. According to the legend, Geoffrey makes claim that a sea voyage was needed to get to this fabled isle. His description of Avalon is heavily indebted to the early medieval scholar Isidore of Seville. In the Spaniard's famous work, Fortunatae Insulae, Geoffrey also makes claim that Arthur is taken to Avalon to be healed through means of magic water by distinctly Anglo-Saxon version of Morgan and the elf queen of Avalon named Argante. Geoffrey's Merlin not only never visits Avalon, but is not even aware of its existence. This would change to various degrees in later versions of the Arthurian tale. In this prose romance tradition that would expand on Erlin's association with Arthur as well as on Avalon itself. In later medieval literature, the Arthurian legend, the popular Le Morte d'Arthur by Thomas Malory, Morgan and a number of magical queens arrive after the Battle of Camlan to take the mortally wounded Arthur back to Avalon. They depart in a black boat. By now, Morgan has evolved into Arthur's supernatural sibling in this popular version of the legend. Rather than with magical queens in other versions, Morgan arrives with the Lady of the Lake. In other versions, Arthur's fate is sometimes left untold or uncertain. Other times his eventual death is actually confirmed. In this version, after Arthur's death, the Archbishop of Canterbury receives the king's dead body for burial at Glastonbury. Around 1190, monks at the Glastonbury Abbey claim to have discovered the bones of Arthur and his wife Guinevere. At a depth of 5 meters, which is 16 feet, the monks were said to have discovered a massive tree trunk coffin bearing a lead cross with the inscription Hic jacet sepultus inclitus rex Arturius insula Avalinia. This translates as, "Here lies entombed the renowned King Arthur in the island of Avalon." Over the centuries, many other popular versions of the Arthurian legend have been published. What of today? Have any other locations been put forward as being the real Avalon? Yes, of course, you just can't let a good story die. Greenland, Cumbria, Bardsley Island off the coast of Wales, to name just a few. Avalon has even been compared to the mythical Hyperborea and the Garden of Eden. This brings us to the end of Beyond the Mists of Avalon. Or does it? Where do you think lies the magical Isle of Avalon? Thank you for joining us for this edition of Traveler's Tales. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Traveler's Tales. This really is the best way to help our channel grow. Until we meet again at the crossroads of folklore and fact, Kartistos.